The time has come for my people to go.
I'm not a queen, I'm a servant of the people. I'm not a king, I'm a servant of the people. It's what the people demand, and we gonna keep fighting till we get that land. I'm not a queen, I'm a servant of the people. I'm not a king, I'm a servant of the people. It's time to rise, to get what we want, we got to organize.
Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Pantsula Podcast, brought to you by the A-APRP, which is the All African People's Revolutionary Party. For those who are not familiar with the A-APRP, we were founded in 1968 by Kwame Nkrumah, and our objective is Pan-Africanism. I know some of you guys have different definitions of it, so I guess let me be clear. We define Pan-Africanism as a totally liberated and unified Africa under scientific socialism. Today I have my comrades with me, as you can see, Jesse and Evan. In every episode that we do, we like to dedicate to one of our ancestors. This episode, we're going to dedicate to Dedan, Kimathi, and Wangari, Maathai. And then today, the topic we'll be discussing is individualism versus collectivism. So as we know, and for those who don't or do know, collectivism has been a strong foothold in pre-colonial African societies. It then progressed into like feudalism and stuff like that, but you still had collectivism as the main, thing in Africa. Sorry for the lack of words right now, but so I guess maybe we could get into the differences and kind of pinpoint the differences between both like individual and collectivism, and what do we deem that we can use to liberate Africans? Which side of the coin should we gear towards to, and what has worked historically?
Collectivism, definitely. Things like communalism. We have communalism rather. Africans, we just are well versed in that, I think, as a collective. And also, I think it's just important to look at how society stresses individualism. Like, we live in a individualist society, and we can already see just some of the ramifications of what that life is like, where everyone is just about themselves, just what that means for the reality for others in other parts of the diaspora. Like, I think so many people are disconnected from just kind of the exploitation that is involved with material, whatever that material is, where there's, people making our clothes, the food we eat, all of these things are connected. And if you have an individual mindset, or capitalism, it's all about individualism, we don't even think of that. We think it's just whatever our instant need is. So I think it just calls into attention to why capitalism uses individualism, and why it's worked so much to suppress the masses of people, because it's clearly not been an effective mode for us as people if we're just individually climbing up a ladder that doesn't even exist. If the masses of the people are not taken care of, then obviously that individual aspect isn't efficient.
Yeah, and we have to think about the history of individualism. Obviously, there's no specific history. There's no specific history of individualism, but the basis of it, especially for now in the global capitalist world, is from liberalism. And you might say someone's a liberal, but you are a liberal, you might do different things. But the main thing that ties together liberalism, regardless if you're thinking about a liberal, liberal president in the United States, or a classical liberalism or neoliberalism, is the focus on individual property, individual rights, individual necessity, that all society is based upon what a single individual does, and the group of individuals are there to somehow aggregate rights and make sure, I don't want to step on your property, or you're infringe on you, and versus infringe on me, and so on. So, and at one point, it did have some, like, I believe back, like some of the like bourgeois revolutions were based upon that notion of individualism, of overcoming the rights of aristocracy, where, oh, I come from this family, so I got all this land, and you just have to work on it. So, and you belong to me. So, but then, if you, like, for example, if you read Domenico Rosserdo, Liberalism, a counter history, is basically, this sort of points out the contradiction of, yeah, there's all these rights, but then, how does it come about? And you think about the history of, oh, we want these rights, but the people from this continent, no, they don't. They're not people. They don't have rights. The people, they're just people this land. No, they don't have rights. Or everything now, like all these people face coming here from thanks to the marvel of imperialism. They don't have rights. They need to earn them.
Right. So. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yes. You can see nothing, no war is won, and nothing's ever been won by individualism. It just breeds, just capitalistic values. At the end of the day, it's let me get mine. And kind of what everyone was saying is like, it creates social stratification where it's like, oh, I'm better than you. It creates elitism, where it's like, okay, you deserve to worship me because I hoard wealth, or you deserve to. I should be exploiting you because or you should be looking up to me because I attain all this wealth and assets, which in large part
it starts very early. Like,
oh yeah,
we're inundated with it from the television. I mean, this conversation was actually really inspired by me talking to a family member, my young nephew, just hearing, talking to somebody of this age and just kind of hearing how they perceive all of the messages that are being sent out in the airwaves of just this individual pursuit and getting, it's just kind of like when I was a child in school, and I'm sure you guys know how it was like those who had the name brand shoes or the name brand, whatever it is, just to be seen as a part of something higher. And if you don't have that, then you're worthy of being judged or you're worthy of being bullied because you're poor, and not really understanding that, the masses of African are poor. It's not like, and even those that are not, if they're not committing class suicide or if they're not engaged in this work, it's not like they are a reflection. The petty bourgeois, the existence of them, of course, is just to give this illusion that, we could participate, we could do it, we could actually be on top. We don't have to actually, people talk about broke mindset and all this other stuff. And that comes from a lack of political education. You're saying that someone has a broke mindset, or just so many people having these classes on financial literacy, but not talking about capitalism. Like, how you talk about financial literacy, but you can't even talk about the real systems that affect people's, conditions. So all of these things go again to just this individual pursuit. So the longer we focus on that, as opposed to understanding the system and understanding how it all is connected and having that historical analysis and knowing that, as you said, Evan, it's not really like, can we point to where individualism kind of popped up, but we can see obviously with capitalism and how they've used individualism as a main selling point. And we, as I said, it starts very early on television. We're told these things very young. You need those things to feel good. Your materialism. So many people feel they need those things, whether it's, even if it's not like an actual material thing, but just the idea of escaping, like going on vacation. Not that that's, bad per se, but I'm just saying, like, so much of our culture has commodified everything. And if we don't understand that commodification, then we're just going to continually uphold those capitalist principles.
Yeah, man.
If you see something new, like non-fungible tokens, that's a new, like,
right,
cryptocurrency, and this idea of, if I can get myself out of the power of these the feds and the bank and so forth, then I'm going to be good. We realize that that's the energy usage is ridiculous, and it's basically taking it's taking more things and commodifying them, and it doesn't take it doesn't really undergird the basis of it, because you still need to have some, like, the contradiction is still going to be there. Like, yeah, you have a monetary system that's outside the flow of the quote unquote actual market, but then who's going to be using a lot? People who already tend to have a lot of capital, so or at least at the very least or at least very connected to people who have capital. So it's sort of a replicates itself. Instead of one ruling class or those who have concentration capital, it's another. So
yeah.
And it's not to say that, and there are certain forms of, there are some radical forms of individual, like anarchists. Like anarchism has a history of like radical, like, individuals, like against such structures that undermine like someone's like power. So it's not that every single case of individual is negative, but it's just understanding that the individualism that is stressed by the corporate, the capitalist media is it leads to a lot of alienation and just stress, basically.
Yeah, definitely.
Even to those who do have enough per se, like, even they're wondering, oh, what will happen if something happens? Like the market goes down. They're still,
yes.
Like, even they're like thinking about what if I got 1 million, I get 10 million, or if I got 10 million, I got 100 million. So.
Like, there's no peace of mind, really. You're just on this race of preserving what you have or just trying to increase it. And of course, with that increasement means more exploitation and all these other things. So yeah, that's a really good point. Like, people think there's no like final resting place of, oh, I got it, I'm good. You know, people talk like that's what they want. And so many people say, oh, you know, I just want to be able to have all my bills paid. I don't want to have to worry about, you know, and that's, again, individual. Again, capitalism is beating all of our necks. So we all getting like trampled over. But the notion that if we were to maintain some sort of personal individual fulfillment, as opposed to connecting our struggle to the masses, understanding why oppression like this happens, you know, we're just, you know, that's enough to numb you. I think society is numb through that messaging of materialism and just having this individual pursuit. And it cuts off the organization. It cuts off like just the organism that actually builds a community. Is obviously nothing has been achieved through individual efforts. It's always about the masses of the people. But if you're just going on that individual tip and believe that you can individually inspire millions of people, which some are privileged to have that opportunity to, you know, inspire. If you have a platform, that's what your work should be for, as opposed to just like, oh, let me gain this for myself and not even speak about the masses.
Yeah, and I think just individualism just imbues us with just like, man, so much BS, right? That you know, and I get it. You know, some people don't really understand a lot of these complex systems sometimes, but it's like, you know, they breed that into us to have us think that power is just, okay, how much money you have, and just capitalistic versions of power. It's not understanding these systems and political power. They don't tie it into you trying to ascertain political power or control your own destiny at the end of the day. And then that's what we're trying to do at the end of the day with our objective here in the A-APRP is power. We wanted to be able to, you know, we want Africa for the Africans, essentially, right? You know, we want to be able to, you know, help the masses of our people. We're not trying to collectively we're not trying to have a system where it's just like, oh, only a few have and dictate the power of Africans at the end of the day. That's what we have right now. And how is that going well for us? It isn't going well for us. So.
It won't. It
isn't going well for us.
Not effective.
Exactly. So I think a lot of us just have to restructure and, you know, engage in challenges and ideological struggles with other people, even ourselves, and just to understand and you know, what power is and how do we attain it, and not just limit it to what mass media tells us, or, you know, what you hear from Bloomberg or CNN tells you, well, you know, you have buying power, and, you know, you could, you know, if you just stop eating McDonald's 10 times a week, you'll be rich, So you
LL.
turn that 20 cents. Yeah, you turn that 20 cents. And by all means, I'm not saying that, you shouldn't do certain things. We're not saying don't work, because I think people like to take these type of things that we talk about and say that, oh, well, they're telling you, go live in the forest and don't live in a house because it's like, no, we understand that the system creates contradictions. And at the end of the day, all we're saying is, once you understand those contradictions, fight against it to remove those contradictions, to an organization to remove those contradictions at the end of the day. So, we understand that no one on here, or no one on this live stream or video is a capitalist. It's fine to be capitalist. Whoever you watching this, it's a 99% chance you're not a capitalist. I'm sorry to tell you. I'm sorry to inform you, or be the bearer of bad news, but you're not a capitalist. You don't own the means of production. You don't dictate the reality for no one. You don't have mass amounts of capital. So I'm sorry to tell you, you're not a capitalist. So, you wanting to work at a company, you make X amount of dollars a day, whatever, it doesn't mean you're still working class at the end of the day, it's just varying degrees, you may be a proletariat, or you may be a petty bourgeois, but you're not the ruling class. So
people don't have that understanding, because the perception is that if you have a good job, quote unquote, you have the degree, you have the experience, you have all of the qualifications that capitalism tells you you need, that, and there are plenty of people who have those qualifications, but they're still being exploited. They have debt, they have interest payments added on to that debt. So exactly. Just this notion that if I have all of my things together, I'll be able to succeed. Not, it collapses on itself, because there are plenty of examples of people who have those things and they're still being brutalized, because the system of capitalism does not allow the masses of the people to get the best part of the pie. Like we're giving the crumbs. The oligarchs literally give us just the crumbs, enough to just have people actually rave. I've had people tell me, well, I mean, at least it's something. That 1,400, I mean, at least it's something. But I saw the best meme. I'm gonna try to find it and just show it on my camera. That a revolutionary posted, I forget his name, but it just showed the relationship between the stimulus and the economy. Like it's just to feed back into the 1% who owns, the means of production. It's not necessarily done as a favor. But a lot of us, not understanding or having that political education, here it is, you're going to assume that it's actually, let's see if you can see it. So it's like a plant. The poor is pointing to the rich and pointing to the poor. It's like, so you think the stimulus is it's filling your bucket, but that bucket is filling the plant to make
exactly.
But that individual highlight, which is why they, so many news stories, that's what they do, local news media especially, they know how to really just craft this illusion that, if you work hard, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, get a job, a good paying job, you work hard, if you put your best stride, get an LLC, right? You do all these things, you're somehow not only ready to be at the top of your game, you'll be better than the rest, when the numbers just, it's just proven that's not how we gain liberation. And those that actually don't or disconnect their experience from the masses of the people is an enemy of the masses. Yeah. You can't say for your people if you have that privilege and you don't understand the necessity of committing class suicide, or you can't say that you for us, but those are the people actually speaking. And we're going to post a link in the description of just there's a video on the sound did kind of talking about these contradictions, but also I think of the petty bourgeois, again, someone like P. Diddy, Jay-Z, whoever, and they're standing there as an example, like, oh yeah, I want to be like that. I want to be like that. That's what a lot of people would say. But if you want to be like that, not understanding how that came to be, it won't fit.
Yeah, man.
And we talk about this individual's mindset, but it not only applies for the economic or financial aspect, but also sort of like the intelligence or beauty or the something like for I guess like something else. I think people who like, follow me on Facebook or Twitter, they know that I'm a huge sports fan. So, and that's like, and you think about sports is like, especially professional sports, is all about competition. Like which team is the best? Oh, or think about which player, like, oh, LeBron, he's way better than Jordan or Kobe or Serena, like she could take Naomi, like stuff like that. That is sort of a uplift of individual either athletes or teams, and like, and even if you think, like, or you think about like, all the sessions like other people who are like kneeling or like raising their fist against like hearing the national anthem, or just like, or whenever you watch like an international competition, like my country's better than yours, or like, oh, I don't want politics in my sport, but like the whole point of these competitions is basically indoctrination to this competitive mindset. Like, I don't want to be with this fan because he likes the Red Sox, or I don't want to be because he likes Celtics. You have these like even if you're like young, like it's like obviously it's fun. Like you get it's a good thing. It's like this is like sort of like where sense of collective enjoyment of something, and not only with fans but also when you talk about like the sport itself, especially if it's a team sport. At the same time, you have all these aspects of you have to beat someone, you have to do better, and which you see stuff of people who are bending the rules or cheating, or they're doing stuff on like, and you can't help but think that some of that translates to like, you know, like oh, I gotta do better at my job than this person, or I gotta get a better house than this person, or my kid has to have better grades than this person, or they gotta do better. Or you think about like if you have like you get like, oh, someone gets a gold star, or you have like teachers will put the board saying this person gets a gold star. I know, like I was one of those kids, like I wanted to do well, I want to get the A's and A pluses and get the kudos from the teacher, but you recognize that after a while the life won't always reward you because you do well, because there might be some people who don't do as well, but they know the right people, and so it brings up this idea of you got to do everything well when even life won't always reward you because someone else.
Yeah, it makes me think
something before.
Yeah, it makes me think of like these shows they put on TV like in the past, or even like MTV Cribs, right? Or like you know, the life of the rich and famous. Yeah, or Life of the Rich and Famous, right? They put this out there like, oh, don't you want to ascertain its wealth? Even though it was sponsored by imperialism and neocolonialism, and you know, they don't tell you the backstory. You know, they're just going to tell you that, oh, this is the wealth I have, and so he bought a $10 million necklace, and you just think, you know, I think growing up, a lot of us is, you know, unless you grew up in a revolutionary household or something like that, which a lot of us don't have, you know, the luxury of growing up in that way. I think most of us don't grow up in that lifestyle. So you know, we all kind of get bogged down by seeing that, and we're like, oh, I want that diamond, I want this, and you know, I'll get it by any means. I don't care. You know, I'll do anything to get that.
As opposed to like getting your revolution, you'll get the material thing by any means.
Exactly. Or you know, people like, man, you know, some people fuck the people, or excuse my French, but forget the people. You know, like I don't care about that stuff. It's like I wanted to get the money, and even when you do just get the money, once again, just reverting back to what I was saying earlier, you're not a capitalist. So, you know, a lot of times you don't have to go to a bank to get your loan. You know, you owning your small mama pop store that, you know, if something happens within the drop of a dime, you'll be out of business. Capitalists don't have those
issues right now.
Exactly. You see with COVID, people's mom and pop shop is been closed down because once again they're not, and then people get misconstrued that you know, because they're operating under capitalism, that you have to be a capitalist. It's like, no, And by definition, you're not that. You're not that. And then those interests are complete. That's a contradiction. It's like, you're working class, advocating for the interests of the ruling class. So, that doesn't make any sense. And which obviously breeds individualism, which kind of ties into, I guess we talked about like the negative effects, obviously, of individualism. So maybe we could talk about the need of collectivism, which kind of ties in with our last episode of the necessity of Pan-Africanism. I guess why is collectivism is important, and and how do we combat this whole ideology of individualism?
Well, I think it just breeds a culture of generosity and concern, care for the people. When you have a collective society, you have a society that's concerned about your well-being. We can look at examples like Cuba and what they've done with their literacy and just medicine, and how they've improved their societies because they have built apparatuses dedicated for the well-being of your spirit and your mind and your health. It's not like in a society now where everything's for profit. And even if you even have a doctor, that doctor is overwhelmed with like 1,000 other patients. So they can't even look at you as a real person deserving of healthcare. So I think, if you just look at collectivism, there are plenty of examples of your well-being being taken care of. And it's not just about, how much can the system take from you. It's about how well are you to maintain, this life that you're living, how taken care, what resources you need to improve your condition. And so it's just a fundamental that's just completely different from the society we're living in now, where everyone is just consumed about themselves, mainly because they understand that if something is out of line, you can have all of that snatched from you, because the system is just needing your labor, needing your exploitation. So, yeah, that's what I would say. The fundamental difference is just that importance of, like, you are important. Here's what we're going to do to make sure you can live a peaceful, healthy life, and you're seen as somebody.
And you also think about even within the hyper individualistic society, you still see examples of collective work, especially like during a disaster. You see people,
right?
Like say building collapses, like you see people trying to dig them out, or there's a hurricane or something, like trying to maybe take the fire out, or like help someone like house people or give people clothing, and if you get this sort of weird reaction, like we see you get this sort of like, oh, look at how well they're working together, and like, right, and then he's like, well, how about if we run the society like this? Like, oh no,
how about we make it
red commies?
Well, that is a brilliant example because,
oh man,
I'm a victim of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, and of course that was devastating. But to see all of the people come together, in effort to just rebuild their communities, it's like, as you said, okay, if we can get together when a hurricane come or something, like, why can't we just build even higher, having our, join an organization and then constantly build so that we can get rid of the institutions that are not doing that literally just come to build more unaffordable housing to the masses. Like, how about we maximize that instead of just coming together when something awful hits, right?
Yeah, exactly. Collectivism, just, man, it makes me think of sorry to always bring up Guinea and Guinea-Bissau, but yeah. Second to Ray had the local, I think it's local revolutionary power, where it was a system where it all funneled up within the PDG. Like, they had local communities that, for instance, like when they had trials, or when they needed to vote on certain things, and people actually had a say-so in that. It's like, we don't have a say-so you don't have a say-so in imperialism. We can't, they don't come to us like, hey, should we invade? Should we invade Libya? Should we invade Iraq? What do you guys think? It's kind of like, no, we're going to do that. We don't give a fuck what y'all think. We have the money and the power. We own the music production. So we're going to do it. But, you have, when you have collectivism, you matter. right? Individualism also breeds things where it's like within the capitalistic society where it's like if you don't have money, you don't mean anything at the end of the day. Or you work in you're a garbage man. Oh yeah, your friends are gonna look at you crazy. Your family members may look at you crazy. The woman you date gonna look at you crazy. It's like, oh, you don't have money, you don't got the bag, you don't got the bag. What?
That's the reason why you're in this condition, because you don't got that bag.
Forget like half of James got a union job, so even then.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think collectivism understands like we need these jobs. Like you can't look down on any job. Someone has to do it. People have to do it. We need people. We need people to take out the trash. We need people to do mail service. We need people. We need teachers. We need nurses. We need all these things. There's no job that we don't need. So I think understanding that within the confines of collectivism or system like socialism that breeds collectivism or has collectivism like kind of embedded into it, kind of shows that everyone is important, everyone matters. So we want to take the opinions of, and it's funny because even with in the confines, what I was saying earlier with Second Ture, he got pushed back by some people saying like, why are you going to take the advice of poor people and peasants and stuff like that? What are you listening to them for? It was like that bourgeois thought. But he fought against that, and the PDG fought against that. I don't make it just individualize it. But the organization fought against that. So I think that's
around for collectivism. There's then democratic centralism. Like that's
exactly,
everyone is able to argue if necessary a point until there's some resolution. Like you're going through this back to back just to get to a point. It's like you said, it's not like when imperialists or when we were taken away from Africa, there was like, okay, so you want to be with your mom in this ship? You want to be with your, like, no, they just made the decision with no discussion. So like with collectivism, there's more of a space for everyone to actually commit to what their opinions are, to just really struggle through, ideological discussions, just getting to that point. It's not liberalism. And, and that's a good thing because we got too much of it. We got too much of people thinking we got to be just hoochie tooey. And it's like, nah, man, like develop a political education and don't speak unless you have that analysis so that you're not confused. Because the worst thing is to just make that your trumpet and then everyone's hearing it and it just provides more confusion and ignorance. We got to get away from that.
And if you think about it, even in this individual society, you still have wealthy people. They come together to meet. That's what I mean. The triad commissions is still a thing. The Bohemian Grove is still a thing. Like Davos is still, the World Economic Forum is still a thing. So even in the individual society, you still have like times where they have to decide, how are we going to extract even more wealth from the people? Like even they know that at some point they have to come together to decide what the ruling class is going to do. So do you think it's gonna work? But like you just like working 125%? Come on.
If they can organize together to, suppress, then we most certainly should organize together to defeat that. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. If they organize to oppress, it's like there's no way one person that we elect is gonna just by himself or herself, get rid of these oppressive systems. We need the help of other Africans and other oppressed peoples to help us with this atrocity we're dealing with, essentially. So, and that kind of goes into what the party stands for. One unified socialist Africa. We're not asking for one unified capitalist Africa. That's not our line. So I think that kind of goes into our party and our objectives here. And it's like, you can't do this unless you're unified. There's no way that we can at all. So I don't know. Do you guys have anything else to
sometimes
I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Why were you saying something? But
you just missed it.
Yeah. And I think, and this also not only applies to like society all, but also in regards to movements that that even within movements, there'll be points where they try to make out certain individuals as the leaders or the voices. Either
I was going to say, there you go. You just took it from me. Yeah, like right.
And there'll be points where they say, "Oh, this is the leader," or "These are the leader," and even if they are leaders, like you still want to make sure that if something happens to that person, the movement doesn't just they killed him or her, damn, we're done.
And that's again what we live in, an idol worship, like just this praise and idol status we place on these individuals. It doesn't help the movement if you're just selecting an individual and then making that person your savior. Like how are we gonna get anywhere? Because once that person dies, the movement has to continue. Like, you know, it's just kind of like what happened, unfortunately, to our sister Jamilah. She's been encouraging us that we're doing the work, but obviously we miss her. But
she ain't dead yet. She ain't dead though. You still here?
No, I'm not saying she's. No, I'm saying not a part of these.
No, I'm playing around.
Like she was always telling us, like, y'all gonna have to do the work, yeah. And we obviously not seeing this happening, and we're doing that, and we hope to continue to do that. And that's an indication the work has to continue. You know, like despite what may happen, because forces exist. You know, whether it's inner forces or something personal in our lives, this work is important. And if you have that collective mindset, you understand the purpose, the reason, that just encourages you further.
Yeah, that's true. I think that was a good example. You know, her being out of commission due to her accident or tragedy really is I think it's a testament to us being in an organization and having that collective mindset to let's pick up the work. Because imagine being individualistic. It's like, well, I wasn't responsible for it. I ain't doing that.
Right. It's like, well,
I'm doing that shit. I ain't what.
And also something she said to us once that still resonates with me is like, we should just start asking ourselves when we are living our lives, like how much do we give to capitalism? And we don't really question whether we go to our job. Like, you don't say, oh, you know, man, I ain't going to my job today. I'm gonna tell the boss and say I'll be there tomorrow. Like, you don't ever really think about that. Because you know the quote unquote exchange that comes from that, you get paid, you get a small little breadcrumb, and that breadcrumb gives you by, you know, a little bit. But like this organization work, it's actually something. It's already just revolutionized how I process, how I analyze, how I go by my decisions. And so like we just gotta start asking like, how much are we giving to a system, and how much is that system giving back to us, right? And how much what can we gain through this organizing, and why is that important, as opposed to just accepting the meager thing that capitalism gives us?
Exactly, man.
Right on,
man. Is there any last words or anything else you guys like to add? I've pretty much been. I think that was it for me to go over.
And just remember, not only the moments of collective support, whether it's your family or like it was like blood family or like adopted family, whatever kind of, or neighbors or whomever, and think about, especially Africans, like your history. There's a long history of collective work and understanding of communalism, or and you might be scared of the socialists. Oh, that's a white man thing, or even if you don't want to use. If you don't want to use that word, you don't want to use socialism, you don't want to use anarchism, you don't want to use communism. Think, or you could think of Ujamaa or Ubuntu or Ubungi, or something. Like there is like some form of collective that believe that the land is ours, and yeah, we might that there is indeed, like there are indeed individuals, but you have to remember that in my cases, you still have responsibilities, and the health of the people is primary. So if you read that history, don't think you're just gonna buy up some land and I'm gonna be the next whoever that like really rich Nigerian resident.
Oh yeah.
Dangote.
Yeah.
Dangote. And look, and that's there's problems. So yeah, so
Yeah, that's
we got history. or Isabel dos Santos, or Oprah.
Oprah. Man, it's funny because I remember before doing this work, I used to always wonder why aren't there many African billionaires, and I never connected, the role of exploitation or any of that, and I almost made it. I would be like, man, black people, why, we ain't no billionaires, that kind of rhetoric. You don't want to be that. That's not something, obviously, that's necessary. So, yeah. I co-sign all those points. And again, I say to all of you all listening, join an organization, fighting for justice, develop that political education, so that you won't be confused by just this individual ladder. It's ultimately a mirage. It doesn't even exist. It's like, you get to the top, it's like you were saying, Evan, like there are people with a lot of money who still have the same stress, if not more stress, because they're egregiously trying to maintain it, or they want more. So collectivism, that's what we got. That's what we need. That's the only way.
Yeah, that's the only way. Collective power. And just like Jesse said, and echoing sentiments stated on here, join an organization, fighting for justice, man. If you think that capitalism is going to set us free, I'm not going to say that. Never mind. I'm going to say organize around that. I'm not going to promote that. But man, listen. My point is just organize. If you think we don't have a solution, you think we're pumping a white man's rhetoric, pumping a socialism or something, create your own organization or join an organization that you feel like aligns with your politics. So, create your own. So, and once again, we said in other episodes and we mentioned today, comrade Jamilah, she's in the hospital. She had a bad accident in February. So if you guys can help and donate anything you can, we have a GoFundMe in the description. So we definitely appreciate any help you guys can provide in regards to that. But other than that, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay tuned for our next episode, which will be next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And forward, y'all.
Forward.
Forward.